Hey guys, I'm Koda, and in this video, I'll be teaching you the layout of Unity as well as the basics of it. So let's get straight into this. Alright, so once on your desired browser, you're going to want to search up Unity and go to the first link you see, which will be unity.com. It will also be in the description, and it should look just like this. You're going to click on Download right here and choose Download for Windows. This should send a download up here. Once it's done loading, you can just choose it and open it. You're going to want to click yes because you want to allow it to make changes to actually download. And you're going to follow through the setup, but I already have Unity, so I'll just be hopping straight into that. Alright, so now that we're in Unity, to create your first ever project, you're going to want to choose right here where it says new and choose 3D for this tutorial. And call it whatever you want. In this case, we can just call it first Unity project and choose whatever location you want to save the file in. Click create and after some loading, it'll pop up with Unity. So we'll just let that load and be back once it's loaded. Alright guys, now that we're on the actual Unity, I'll be just showing you around the layout to get you started. So starting on the left, we have our hierarchy, which includes all of the actual items in our game scene. So here's our scene window, and you guys can see that we have this camera. So if we click on game, this is what we're seeing. We're seeing everything through the camera, which is right now empty because we haven't placed anything yet. But there's also this light. It's a light source that'll just create light for us, because if we were to delete it, as you can see, the world becomes darker because there's no actual light. This acts as the sun, which is why it has a sun icon. In the hierarchy, we can right click and choose a 3D object to create, as well as anything else here. We can add effects, lights, audio, video, UI, but we'll just start off with 3D objects and we'll add a cube. Alright, with this cube here, it's literally just a cube. So you can hold right click to look around in your scene and use WASD to move around in your scene while holding right click. So with this cube, we can see that's been added into our hierarchy. It's a hierarchy because you can add things inside of different things. So for example, if we have this cube right here, right? And we right click the cube and add a 3D object in it, we add another cube. Well, now this cube is inside of this cube, right? So if I move this parent cube, it's called a parent cube because it's above the hierarchy. You know, it moves around what we call the child cube, the child object as well. So we have the parent, which I'll rename it as parent, and then child, which I'll name it as child. And we can have multiple children. So here we have 7 children, it's whatever. But we don't need this many. We just need 1 for now. We don't actually need any children. So I'll just delete that. So now that we've gotten the hierarchy down, we can move on to the right side, which is the inspector. As for the inspector, it gives you all the information about your object, which may be seeming a little overwhelming at first, but you'll get used to it. Starting off, we have just at the top, this is the name of the object. We can name it whatever we want. And you can see it updates in the hierarchy. I'll just keep it cube for now. This is just if it's active, meaning if it's there, so you can disable it or activate it. So, layer and tag we'll go over in a different video, but for now, transform is just the position, rotation, scale of it. So the position is just where it's located. So if you set to 0, 0, 0, is located at the middle. Rotation is how much it's rotated. So if we make it something like 45, you can see how it's rotated on the x-axis. Y-axis, we can rotate it this way, and z-axis, we can rotate it this way. We can reset all these values. And the scale is just how big it is. So we can scale it up to 2 on the x-axis, 2 on the y-axis, 2 on the z-axis, and it's literally just a bigger cube. Next thing is mesh filter, which is literally just what it is. Is it a capsule, cube, cylinder, sphere, things like that? And mesh render will just render this, right? A box collider is just a collider, so it can detect if something's touching it. And that's basically it. Alright, so now that we've gone over that, move on over here to the project tab, which shows us our project. So we can see all the folders, so we can see our assets, which has our scene assets, which you don't have to worry about right now. Packages, all these different packages, which just contain all the, different files for our Unity project, which we don't really care about now, as this is just a intro to Unity. Over here, the console, it'll tell us any warnings, errors, things like that, as well as if we want to print out something, it'll show us that. This will be used more during our next video, which will be scripting basics. But for now, we'll just go into the assets and we can create a new folder. Alright, we'll call this materials. Alright, so in the assets, right, in these folders we can create anything. We can script, shaders, testing, all of these different things. But for now, we're just going to focus on creating a material, which is right here. What a material does is basically just change the looks of an object. So if we just call this cube material, we can change it, right? We can make the color red, we can make it more metallic, so it's more like metal, and we can make it rough, right, by bringing the smoothness down. Alright, there's a lot of different settings here you can play around with, but for now this looks pretty good. So now we just take this material and you just drag it onto your cube, and as you can see, it changes the actual cube. Alright, we can have multiple materials. Here we can call this, right click rename, we can call this cube 2 material. These are pretty bad names, but we can make this one green, and then if we duplicate the cube, we can drag this onto this, and now we have 2 different cubes, right? And the thing is, if we ever change this material, right, if we make it black, you can see how it updates on the actual cube, because these two are essentially linked. If we go to the inspector, you can actually see how this material has been added into the inspector. So we can create whatever we want, right? Let's create some 3D objects. Let's just make a quick, car or something. So we can add a cube, right? Let's bring its position to 0, 0, 0. Alright, and if you press F, quick tip, right? If you click on it, press F, it focuses on the object. So if you where's the object? I can't find the cube. I can't find the cube. Click on it. In the hierarchy, press F, and you focused on it. Alright, so we have a cube. This can be like the base. Let's change its scale. So it's like 4 on the x-axis, 2 on the z-axis, and 2 on the y-axis. Okay. And now for the wheels, we're gonna have cylinders. So let's create. So we can rename this to the base of the car. And now we're gonna add a cylinder, which we're gonna rotate it by 90 degrees to make it sideways, and we're gonna scale it down on the x-axis, not the x-axis, the y-axis, and make it like 0.1. So now it looks kind of like a wheel. And we're gonna call this wheel. And we're gonna move it to our desired position. And in Unity, we want things to be exact. So things being exact is a great thing. So I'll make this -1. Y, I'll make it 0. I'll make it 1.5. And Z, I'll make it -3. I mean -0.3, sorry. We'll actually make it -0.5, maybe. Yeah, that's a lot better. So now with this wheel, we can duplicate it and make this Z 0.5. And duplicate this, make its X 1. Duplicate this and make its X 1. And now we have a truck, car, whatever you want to call it. We can duplicate the base, scale it down a bit so that X is at 2, the Z, the Y is at 1, and now it's like a little head for our car, which doesn't really look like a car anymore, but you guys get it right. I suck at modeling, but this is our car. So, now if we want to group it all up and, because if I click on this and move it, it only moves the base, but I want to move everything together. So you're going to create an empty object and call this whatever you want to call it. So we're going to call this, car. And it says position 0, 0, 0. And you're going to drag all of these into the car. So now I can move car, which will move everything together. And inside car, we have the base and the 4 wheels. Let's just finalize it with some nice decorations. Maybe a little bit more realistic colors would be nice. Some gray wheels. And the red car looks fine. Alright guys, one more thing I wanted to show you is how you can model without having to type in exact numbers, because this can get a little tedious. What you can do is in the top left here we have these different tools. So really quick, the hand tool just moves around the screen. The move tool will move an object. Rotate tool, you can rotate. You have to drag left or right to rotate. With the scale tool, you can scale. When we come over here, we can scale this way as well. And then we have a rect tool, which is like a, a 2D version of the scale tool, kind of. Because you guys can see how I'm like changing it. Like this. And we have one more tool, which is the move, rotate, or scale, which has scale, move, and rotate on one. Right? So this car is looking kind of bad, but to undo all your actions, you can just hold Control and Z. Control Z undoes everything. That's a little too far, so Control Y will redo it. And there we go. Back to our beautiful car. That's all for the video, guys. If you did enjoy it, make sure to like, subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next one.